Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I call it near-term risk because the near-term risk is definitely increasing, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to focus on the Dow Industrials today and a couple of key indicators, then dive in and take a look at the interest rate picture and the dollar. Now, I look at the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000, and a whole lot of other things every day and on a regular basis. And if you want more of that kind of information, just head over to joehenches.net. Okay, so let's talk about the industrials in the S&P and the NASDAQ 100. The Dow was down 210 points this last week, so it's been down 3 out of the last 4. And the S&P up 85 points in here. And we just continue to push up, even though the indicators are saying not confirming this move. Now, this can stretch and go on for several weeks, but it's already done it in terms of a non-confirmation for 5 weeks in a row in here. And I'm talking about how much higher have we gone above the high that occurred on March 24th, the week of March 24th, and not being confirmed by the indicators. Okay, so 5 weeks so far over here. Similar kind of thing going on for 5 weeks over here on the NASDAQ 100. This was up a whopping 659 points. Huge move. Let's take a look at the transports and the industrials. Wow, the transports down 215 points. We can sit back and say, well, yeah, they were down 215. Dow was down 210, so they're kind of similar. No, not quite. This is a totally different picture. When you take a look at what's happening over here with the transports going like this, and the Dow from that same time frame going like this, they're going in different directions. And so the transports have not confirmed whatsoever what's happening with the Dow Industrials. And so that is a very big negative. I mean, when you think about it, goods and either raw materials or finished goods or whatever needs to be transported in truck and rail and ship before it can be sold, right? And marketed. Well, these are all saying, yeah, we're heading south right now. And if we break this trend line, I think it's going to be a pretty big negative. Okay, let's go back. Let's take a look at the Dow Industrials. So on Friday, they were down 57.94. So it looks like we're kind of rolling over a little bit. But the Elliott Wave picture I've got in here is showing a couple possibilities. So I've got a bigger picture for the industrials that says, hey, maybe we have a good chance that we're heading higher in a 5-wave move for wave 3 in here, and that the 4th wave did finish on the week of May 26th. Okay. Now, the alternate view, or the alternate I'm looking at, is that maybe this scenario still has a little more to go in terms of going sideways, and that maybe we're doing something like an A, B, C, as long as that doesn't go below A, D, E, for a triangle, like here. Like, I got a little carried away. More like here's what I meant to do. And so we're doing sideways corrective activity. Now, if this comes down and goes below this level here, then the triangle's out the window. Okay. And if it turns and pushes higher and takes out this high here before we set up a zigzag, and the reason why I'm looking at it is because I'm looking at 3 zigzags. And I think there's a pretty good chance that that's what we got here, zigzag, zigzag. And I'm looking for a zigzag to complete here to tell me that, okay, there's an increased chance that the triangle's underway. So anyway, that's where we're kind of watching. We'll see what happens. But it's doing a little bit different thing than what the S&P is and the NDX. So, and it doesn't matter whether you look at this picture here, the industrials, or whether you look at the Dow diamonds, it's the same thing. I'm looking at the same count in here because the diamonds are just mirroring exactly what's happening with the industrials. Okay, so that is the picture that we've got And I want to take a look at a couple of key indicators. So let's look at, and I'm going to go back and just move back and focus on the daily view. The percent of stocks above their 200-day moving average in the S&P 500. This looks like a major top to me, like a head and shoulders top. It looks like a beautiful top. Now we started to break down. Now we didn't really close below that neckline, but we got a pretty good break on Friday, and it did drop down to 64.6%. So what's interesting is, think back to the picture that I just showed you about the SPX sitting up here at, new to all-time closing high on the weekly basis. And then you come back and you look at this picture and you say, well, what's going on with that? When we have, basically looks like we're kind of rolling over. We're not sitting up here, as the S&P is sitting at new all-time highs. And when you take a look at on the New York, we're getting a similar type of thing. So the broader New York Stock Exchange, we're getting a little more of a breakdown too. Now, it's not the same kind of picture, but similar type of possible topping type activity in here. It's sitting at 62.7%. Okay, so that is the picture with that indicator. Now, again, let's take a look at the high lows. So the NASDAQ, you just saw what the NASDAQ 100 was doing and how high that was, sitting at new all-time highs. This is the net of the high lows, the stocks hitting 52-week highs minus the stocks hitting 52-week lows. On Friday, they're at a minus 153 on the NASDAQ. Well, also look at what's going on. Here's the peak in March. Here's the peak in May. And here's June's peak. And here we are back heading south. So it looks a lot like we're rolling over. And what's the index doing? The index is going up and to the right. Okay. This is not confirming it. It's not doing one of these. Okay. And then the other thing, take a look at. So that's the NASDAQ. Here's the New York. Okay, so think about the S&P again. Same kind of thing. Lower highs. Looks like we're possibly breaking down. We're at minus 55 again, so back down into negative territory. So we're getting some things with the readings that you sit back and say, And then we got the high yield bond fund. Well, this was really kind of messing with me for a while. I really thought, well, is it going to try to break to the upside? But right now, I'm really leaning to the fact that I think it's getting ready to break down. We'll see. It's just how I'm kind of thinking about it right now. And I'll tell you why in just a second as soon as I get this lined up. So down 30 cents on Friday, back below the 10-day moving average, the blue line. Up 17 cents on the week. Okay. But when you look back over here and you look at this daily view, this looks like 5 waves down to me. Okay, so when I think about that, I'm like, okay, well, we got 5 waves. And from an Elliott Wave perspective, 5 waves always tell you the direction of the current trend or the dominant trend. So here's 5 waves. And what does this look like? It looks like a lot of overlapping type stuff. And we got a trend line that if we break that trend line to the downside, I think it's going to be a big negative. Okay, that we should then be continuing and doing this. That's what this looks like to me right now. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so that is the picture. So again, when you look at this, you sit back and say, well, okay, this is what the price action is telling me. Now let's see, does the market confirm that or not? Okay, that's all you can do. All right, let's take a look at TLT. Okay, up 79 cents on Friday, continuing to push higher. And for the week, big move up, $3.17. So my Elliott Wave picture on TLT is I'm looking for a zigzag to play out in a counter trend move in here. And right now, it seems to be playing along. It seems to be looking and acting like it wants to continue to push higher. We'll see. So if this is the case, then here's what the 10-year yield is doing. It's heading south, right? And sometimes when you draw trend lines, I remember, so I had the trend line drawn at the lows. And then this kind of, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can do this. You bring it down to the lows in here, and then it looks like, well, it pulled back above the trend line. It wasn't a really nice little, pull back and kiss goodbye kind of classic move. Well, if you take it up to just the closes, like the lowest close over here, you get a little bit closer in here like this, and maybe I adjust it to the close right here. So the close here on that candle, the close right in here, the closes. Well, all of a sudden, this looks like the classic pullback to the trend line for a kiss goodbye and then drop off. And that's exactly what this has done. So, the 10-year yield down 3 basis points on Friday, down 22 basis points for the week. Now, what's the dollar index doing? The dollar index up 35 cents on Friday and up a little bit more than that, 66.5 on for the week. Now, when I look at this, I've been holding a bullish scenario, but this sure has not been acting like it's in a third wave pushing higher. So I am really on alert that if this starts to break down and break some of these trend lines to the downside, I'll be moving to the bearish scenario, and I do have a bearish alternate count. The bearish alternate count says that this may be going on, but I need to see this start to break down to tell me that, yeah, we could be heading, south, and I don't have the third wave lined up in here. It's just placeholders right now. Okay, so ignore that, except for the fact that this bearish scenario says this, heading south. We'll see what happens. I've looked at this on a monthly basis. This could be, when you look at the monthly, the long-term chart. Here's the 40-year view. Could be that this is just a big counter trend, or maybe a first wave, like a leading diagonal of some kind. It's hard to tell right now, except we're getting a lot of overlapping. But what I'm going to be on alert for is, do we start to break down, or do we continue to push higher? Now, we had a nice big move this week. We'll see if we get some follow through or not. Okay, that's it for this video. If you felt like it was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that little subscriber button. And again, if you want more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net. Everyone, have a great week, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And we'll talk to you on the next video.